Let's talk about pain. Let's talk about emotional pain, physical pain, societal pain, spiritual pain, all types of pain. There is no, I don't think there is one worse pain than the other, but I do want to address a couple things here about emotional pain and physical pain specifically. When I was a child, I was born fine. I was born with all my fingers. I had all my, full nose, everything. I was able to walk fine. I could walk bare feet. It's so painful right now to walk bare feet. My legs were fine. My foot was fine. I didn't need a wheelchair. I didn't need crutches. I was born a healthy child. And when I look back at those moments, I don't regret a thing. I really don't. I don't regret anything about that. And looking back at the adventures and the pain and the trauma and the depression and the anxiety and the stress and the fear and you name it, everything, I was able to cover basically all types of pain, so to speak, and leads me to where I am today, able to have that empathy, that care, that compassion, and that guidance in order to help another person get through whatever it is that they're getting through. So when we think about the pains that we've gone through in our lives, the question we always need to ask ourselves, or what I always encourage people to ask is, was it worth it if we think about it? Was it a blessing in disguise? Now, I know that we are in it. When we're in it, it can be devastating, honestly. It's devastating. It could be so difficult, so hard, so traumatic, so fearful. And for sure, you have my entire full empathy. Now, if you understand, as a child growing up, I went through hell, so to speak. All of a sudden, I'm growing up, and then surprise, there's an illness that just attacked me, and my body started attacking itself, and we don't know what to do at the time. This was many, 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 many years ago, and what is one supposed to do? Especially family members and this and that, like doctors, and back then they didn't have the answers, and I was undiagnosed most of my life. Spent my entire high school and elementary school, I was using a wheelchair. I walking stick. I was struggling, and I felt alone a lot of the time, and there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of stuff that went on you can even imagine as a child. And again, when I look back, do I regret that? And the answer, if I look back at this moment now in time, no, I don't. Because of maybe, if I think about the immense gratitude that I have for the people around me, the amount of gratitude that I have for the people that I've met in my life because of that I may not have, the amount of people that I'm able to inspire and work with and help because of that. Sure, we can help people without the pain, but why do we need that pain? I always ask myself, is why am I going through what I'm going through? Not to blame, never to blame. I never actually had a moment of blaming anyone or anything or God for what I'm going through physically, for my illness. I did have moments when it came to emotional pain, though, about anxiety, about loneliness, about fear, about, pain, emotional pain, losing somebody. We all can relate to those things. But when you have somebody, for example, that is going through a physical traumatic illness all the time, it's an additional thing, right? So for example, I may be disabled, but I'm human too. So I get to feel everything. I get to feel the feels. And one of the ways that is so important for me to not overcome, but to heal and to get through the pains that we deal with, whether emotional pain or physical pain or spiritual pain, societal pain, all types of pain, even a toothache, is that when we feel the pain, we have to feel what is real in order to heal. We have to feel what is real in order to heal. And that was one of my biggest lessons is it's even more so a perspective or a mindset, but it's actually working with the body instead of against it. And when we resist the pain, it persists. And that's something that I've noticed so much, whether especially physical pain. And a lot of the times when I enter into a doctor's office or a hospital or whatnot, and they see what's going on, or if I flare up on my hands or whatnot, it could be very, very concerning to the environment around me. And environment is another thing that is just so important for our well-being and our mental health. And let's go into that for a moment. The environment is something that it affects our mindset. Whatever we eat, whatever we say, whatever we like, the movies we watch, the books we read, the people we surround ourselves with, these are all part of our environment. And our mind is so susceptible to those things that it's constantly observing it, right? Have you ever noticed in being in a clean room or a clear desk or a clean area that's all organized versus a messy, stacked up little room? Some people, that's just who they are, and they like the chaos, the organized chaos, so to speak. And some people prefer neat and tidy. But somehow you're able to be more creative and focused when things are in a level of organization, right? For example, like in a clean environment. Helps mentally, right? We want to be able to mentally clear, right? So one of the tactics that I use a lot is whenever we are dealing with something that is very mentally heavy, for example, or things that are going on in our mind. You wake up in the morning and you have a million things to do, for example. I know for myself, I have a ton of things that I commit myself to. I have tons of to-do lists. I have tons of things I've said yes to. I have tons of projects to work on. And that's what gives me purpose every morning. However, sometimes, in addition to the things that I have to think about, living with a disability and an illness, and also, the anxiety or the depression or the loneliness or the thoughts that come in. Another thing is like not every time that we think about our thoughts are they real. And so, just because you think it doesn't mean it's actually true. That's something we have to focus on. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. That's something that's very important to understand, is that your thoughts come and go. When we meditate, you got to see your thoughts as passing cars in the street. Something that I used to do as a child. I used to sit with my grandmother at my grandmother's house on my knees watching the cars. And it was so relaxing to me, and I didn't know why until I think about it now, is that I think Headspace app talks about that a bit, is that you can just have those passing cars, and you don't need, you can't control the cars. You may not like one of the cars, you may not like the colors, but it's going to come and go, and there's nothing you can do about that. And when you treat your thoughts that way, it may be something that may help for you to, I wouldn't say control your thoughts, but observe them. And that's the same thing with pain, is that when we feel what is real, we're able to heal. And when we feel what is real, we're able to heal. And that is one of the things that's helped me the most, is that when we are dealing with a physical pain or emotional pain or whatnot, it helps us to actually to sit for a moment and to feel the pain as opposed to resisting it. And that is one of the techniques that I always use, especially when it's excruciating, or when I'm dealing with something like a flare-up. Like a flare-up is inflammation, and sometimes it gets triggered when like, let's say, for example, my knee flares up, or my hands, because of the weather or because of the environment or whatnot, right? And the first thing is not to resist it, because the more you fight the pain, the more it resists. And there's nothing wrong with taking painkillers. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just it is a band-aid, so to speak, or a temporary relief of what could be ongoing or persistent, for example, right? We obviously know by now that we don't want to keep popping painkillers, because it may alleviate the time the pain at the moment, but there are side effects, and we should know that by now, about the side effects of constantly taking drugs that may not be that great for our system. In moderation, of course, I encourage it. Because of my high pain tolerance, which I'm grateful for, if after the second night the pain is too much, then I would actually take an Advil. I would take a painkiller, and I would actually take it with the intention, because I need my body to sleep. And when our body is rested, it allows it to heal. And that's why energy healing is so important. As an energy healer practitioner, as I am, I practice eclectic healing, which is a combination of all these different modalities that I've learned throughout my life. And because I've been able to go through that journey, and again, that goes back to the fact that I may have been given this trauma as a child and had this surprise disability that just erupted out of nowhere, so to speak, and undiagnosed, and go through all of this pain and all of the suffering. However, I was able to touch upon and learn from, Albuquerque Indians and sweat lodges and Reiki and energy healing sources. And like as a child, I remember there was a Chinese healer taking cubes out of my body, like I like, you name it. And I've got to taste all of that stuff. And maybe I had to go through that in order for me to actually get to a point when I'm able to offer that same healing, but combined with other things, and bring it into somebody else's life to help another person to alleviate the pain. And again, I don't regret what I went through. When I think about those moments as a child, yes, they were traumatic and painful and exhausting and tiresome and fearful, you name it. Those are like exaggerated emotions, exaggerated. Going through that as a child, growing up with a disability, spending my entire high school life, and earlier in a wheelchair and a little walking stick, things started getting bad as I grew up. They did. They started getting bad and worse and fearsome, and the cold weather and my nose and like, I remember like the first time I saw one of my fingers flare up that badly, going to school with bandaged hands. You can even imagine. I can go on for hours of the stuff that I had to go through. But I'm not here to compare. I'm not here to say that my pain is greater than yours. Your pain is great. Your pain is as painful as somebody else's. You see, we're only given what we can handle, and our pain tolerance may be at what it is. So when somebody comes to me and says, Warren, well, hey, I can't complain to you because, my foot hurts or whatnot. Meanwhile, I've been standing for the entire night at an event or speaking on stage or enjoying myself, because the ways that I show up are for myself and for others. I'm not trying to make a statement, but I know it's going to be even harder the next day. It may going to be more painful, but I'll get through that pain because I know that it's going to bring me joy in whatever it is that I'm doing. But when somebody comes to me and they say, oh, Warren, I can't complain to you, my answer is simply, yes, you can. You see, there are different types of pain, right? And your pain is valid. All pain is pain. End of story. Pain is pain. And when you're feeling something, it's important for us to understand that is what it is. And when you feel what is real, you're able to heal. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. When you feel what is real, you're able to heal. And it's not about fighting the pain. The more we resist the pain, the more the pain persists. And same with anything. The more we resist, it persists. And our mindset and our body and our spirit and all that things, it affects everything when we're in pain. Emotional pain, physical pain. I always wonder to myself, which pain is the worst? Which pain is worse than the other? And I don't wish either upon anyone because they're both debilitating. The severe agonizing physical pain is the worst. Emotional pain can also be really, really bad, and especially for one's mental health. Without the right tools and without the right access to resources, it can be so numbing and devastating that like there's just absolutely no hope sometimes. Loneliness, anxiety. Can you imagine what some people deal with those pains in a severe way? And then we reach for the bottle, or we reach for ways that we can alleviate it, that we know. The more we educate ourselves, however, the more we're able to, I don't want to use the word control, but actually not even overcome, but transform and work with the pain instead of work against it. And that's one of the other biggest lessons that I've learned, is that the pain that we've gone through is like we got to work with it, not against it. And when we work with the pain, we're able to understand better of what our body needs to be done. And there are so many modalities out there and resources and ways of healing. And what I encourage you is to find what works for you. When you find what works for you, you're able to find that sweet spot, so to speak. Like you're able to find that way where when you're dealing with something that is unexpected, or when you're dealing with something that is unknown, you're able to then jump on those tools or find those modalities that work for you. Everybody is different. There's no size shoe that fits everybody, right? In my case, I just gave up with the shoes because eventually thank God, I found custom shoes that were built for my feet, for me to help me to get around, right? Another thing is that, the hospital visits and the doctors that I've met and the laughs that I've had, like, I don't regret it. I don't regret it, because who I am today is because of the pain that I've gone through. And I can say that with faith. I can say that with certainty, because I know that I don't see it even possible of the amount of people or doctors or mentors or coaches or friends that I've made throughout my life, because of the pain that I've gone through, got me to where I am today. And when we're in it, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so difficult. And I know that. And there's no way out sometimes, mentally, physically, emotionally. And, some pains are worse than others. There's traumas out there. And trust me, when I say this, I feel the world. I'm an empath 100%. I watch the news, I feel the pain of what is going on there. And that's, when I was younger, I used to actually take on the pain so much of others and their fear and their anger and their sadness. And I'm sure that it did not help with my health. I'm sure it didn't. So over time, I was able to facilitate that. I was able to have agency over my body in order to feel what is real and what is mine and what is not, right? And we are also influenced by, our environment. Our environment is something that is extremely, extremely helpful for our healing. For example, the books we read, the movies we watch, the books we read, the movies we watch, the stories we tell ourselves, whatever goes on in our mind, everything affects everything. There's no question about that. And one of the things that we have to be very careful about is what goes in our head, what goes in our mouth. Like, we're careful most of the time, or hopefully we are, about what things that we eat, right? And it's also important to know what we think. For example, some days I may be completely self-conscious about my appearance. My nose may be different, my facial features, my hands, my body. It's hard for me. It has been hard for me, and some days are harder than others. But again, these are the thoughts that are coming towards me and not necessarily even true. How many times have I've had moments in time where people don't even notice the flaws that we see? Like, this is a big message for us all, is to understand that the flaws we see in ourselves, the imperfections, people don't even notice half the time. Somebody may flip out because they have a little freckle, or a zit or something on their face, and they don't even, nobody even notices it throughout the day. Nobody even notices it. And that's the funny thing about it, is that our mind of ours plays all of these movies and scenarios that not necessarily are serving us. And that's why it's important, our environment. And one of the tips that I always give people is, when they are dealing with pain, and when you are going through a medical process, or you're on the adventure of getting treatments, and that the first thing that you want to do is that when you wake up in the morning, your room around you should always be in a clear space. Clear, no chaos. Organized chaos. Trust me, one of my desks is just, it's chaos, but it's organized, right? And that's just how some people work that way, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has to find the way that they work best with themselves and with others and whatnot. But what I'm suggesting is that if you wake up in the morning and you see right away your medical reports, and you see your blood tests, and you see your medications, or if I see my crutches the first thing, or a wheelchair, or that's why it's so hard to heal in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, many times, many times, I have to change the environment around. I'll close the curtains, right? I'll have my music. I'll have I'll bring like my books or whatnot. Like, it was so important for me to maintain my consciousness about what it is that I'm dealing with, and what goes in my mind. So if when the first thing that you wake up in the morning is that you see things that are reminding you that you are sick, right? What do you think that's doing to your mind? Honestly, what's it doing to your mind? And that's why it's important for us to clear the space. And I believe there was even a study about that, is that, they had two different groups of people that, they woke up thinking and feeling that they were young again, or that they had that environment. And the people in our lives especially are so important for us to actually, work with them. Not work with them, but the people in our lives that support us, to treat us of who we are. When I was in high school, one of the biggest things was that, I'm grateful for, was that my friends treated me like everybody else. We used to, it didn't matter that I was in a wheelchair. It didn't matter that I was different here and there. I mean, obviously there were some bullies when I was younger, but I'm sort of happy that I got to experience that as well. Bless them. That's just, they were probably going through whatever they were going through, and I was just, the subject of that project, so to speak. But it wasn't severe, and that's why, again, the things that I've gone through in my past, the pains that I've gone through, the modalities that I've got to explore or experience, the people in my life, the things that I've gone through, they got me to who I am today. They got me to where I am today. And that's what's just so important, is that when we think about those things, is who are you because of the pain that you've gone through, right? And my friends in high school used to run with a wheelchair. Sometimes I thought the wheels would fall off. Sometimes in life, we're given these opportunities to treat other people the way that they need to be treated. And I know for a fact that there are people in this world that are disabled, and their environment does not help at all, to a point where it becomes mental. Not mental, but like, you become a victim to your circumstances, and it's hard. And it's hard to get out of that. And sometimes there's no way. If somebody is unable to move, for example, one of the worst fears in the world, I remember Tony Robbins talking about, is being paraplegic. Without the support is devastating at times. It's very debilitating, and that's why that's why it's so important to have the support teams around us, or to find them or create them. You see, every time that I show up in my life, every time that I go out, it may be difficult, it may be hard, but the ways that I show up, it's not easy. It never has been. And, growing up with a physical deformities and physical disability, and, yes, it made me stronger. And the people that I've worked with, which I'm grateful for, have helped me to create that pain tolerance, so to speak, but also the mental stamina in order to handle things. So one of the biggest things is to have the resources and to have the tools ready, and to have the networks ready for us to be able to reach out, and to know that, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel emotional pain. And again, I always wonder, which pain is worse? And I don't wish any pain upon anybody. Let's think about, for example, a toothache, bone pain. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started about bone pain. Bone marrow biopsies that I've had are probably the worst pain I've ever had. But it's all perspective. It's all relative to what a person can handle as well, right? A toothache is pain, tooth pain, bone pain. Those are the worst physical pains imaginable. I'm grateful that I was able to actually deal with those pains and actually experience them, in a sense that I can feel what other people are going through at a higher level. And as an empath, obviously I feel the pain of others to a different level. And the more energy healing that I work with and the more modalities that I work with in my life, they are, it's something. It's definitely something. The bottom line is that all pain is pain. Whether you're feeling emotional pain or physical pain, again, I don't know. I always keep asking myself, and I encourage you to ask yourself the same thing: is which pain is worse, emotional pain or physical pain? And sometimes I have those conversations with, God or whoever. I say, I'd rather have X or Y. But do I really? Right? The question is, the amount of, if a finger is flaring up, some people may deal with, they bang their finger and it's the worst thing in the world. And tooth pain, bone pain, there's no words. Emotional pain is probably one of the worst pains as well, because it is. Trust me, I know. Loneliness, depression, what you go through, we got to be able to feel what is real in order to heal. And when our body is in a coherent state and a state of calmness, it allows the body to heal. And the more we resist it, it persists. There are so many resources, there's so many alternative medicine treatments out there that over time it helps us to be able to deal with what it is that we're dealing with, especially the unexpected. For example, neuroplasticity or meditation, for example. And I'm not saying that works for everybody. Some people, it may be just impossible for them to meditate. And sometimes, for myself, meditating is my mind, right? Every morning when I wake up, there's a lot on my mind. It goes through a lot of different things. And I need to calm it. Because there's so many thoughts. There's so many fears or anxiety or things that I have to get done. And I'm sure you can relate that way. And if I don't do my morning routine, if I don't go through my meditation practice or whatever it is, just to calm, in the shower or wherever it is, it's about getting your body to a state of coherence and a calmness in order for you to deal with what is real in the most proactive way possible. And there is no pain that is greater than any other pain. Pain is pain. So an individual person can deal with whatever pain that they're dealing with. So the question is, how do I deal with whatever pain I'm dealing with? So whether it be emotional pain or loneliness or physical pain, what do I do is always the question we must ask, and who can help, right? Where can I go? So let's talk about, for example, when you're in a funk and you feel like the world is on your shoulders and there's no way out, and you just feel so heavy and depressed and angry. Basically feel all the emotions. And I'm sure you've had days, as I've had days, where I just feel all the emotions, right? Sometimes it gets heavy. Sometimes it lasts for a few days. One of the things that helps me the most is, just put on YouTube of, different speakers, different messages, or, spiritual teachers or whatnot. Whatever it is that you find somebody that you resonate with that makes you laugh. That's the most important thing, is to find somebody that, is going to throw in a few jokes here and there. When I spoke on stage once, and I loud and clear stated that I don't need golf clubs because I have a club foot, right? And we gotta do that. We gotta bring joy to our circumstances. We gotta find the fun in it, right? We gotta find the fun. But another reason why is to own it, right? When we own our differences, our challenges, our deformities, our imperfections, it helps us to not overcome them, but to work with them. And again, working with something versus working against something, we don't want to resist. We want to be able to work with the pain. Now, one of the biggest ways that helps me to alleviate physical pain is a form of meditation and calmness. First of all, I got to get my body to a state of calmness. I got to. And again, listening to, meditation tracks, guided meditations, or music that I like, or talking to a friend, it all helps. And again, we don't want to suffer in silence if we don't have to. And we have to understand that we are not a burden to other people. We're not a burden. And it's okay to ask for help, especially nowadays. More and more people are realizing the truth that it's okay to have things going on in our heads or in our bodies or in our minds. And it's okay to talk about it. And you don't have to broadcast it across the internet or on Facebook or Instagram. But, reach out. It's important to reach out to people when you need some support. Because, that's what friends are for. That's what colleagues are for. And there's helplines and there's 1-800 numbers out there. There's so many different resources out there, even if you don't want to talk to somebody that you know, right? I remember working with a coach once. I prefer sometimes to work with people that don't know me, right? If I hire, let's say, for example, I hire a speaker, public speaking coach. It's like, oh, Warren, you've won 5 awards, you've done this and that. Sometimes I just want to start from scratch, and sometimes that's what we need, or for example, if I talk to, a spiritual teacher that knows my history, or a doctor that there's some healers and doctors that don't ask anything, and sometimes they want the history, but sometimes the backstory is not important. What's important is that we look back and realize that is who we are because of what happened. That is who we are because of the pain that we've gone through. That is who we are because of the pain that we've experienced in our lives. So my friends, if there's anything that you got from this today, it's 3 things. One is that we all feel pain, and there's no comparing. There's no comparing to which pain is worse, and there's no comparing to, my pain versus somebody else's pain. Sure, I may not have my fingers, all of them. I may not have, the extremities or the looks, or be able to walk as you do or play basketball or whatnot. And I may struggle or may be perceived struggling at times when actually I maybe not. The stronger our mindset, the stronger, the more resources that we have, we're able to deal with the things that we're dealing with. And there's going to be unexpected pains in our lives. And that's the most important thing to understand, is that we need to have all of these tools and references and modalities in our back pocket ready for the unexpected. Just like, this pandemic, we didn't know. We didn't know. So the first thing is to understand is that pain is pain. And in order to heal the pain, we have to feel what is real. When we feel what is real, we are able to heal. When we feel what is real, we are able to heal. And that's the number one thing to begin the journey of healing. We need desire. We need desire to heal. And desire is something that is a subject on its own, but the willingness to know that it's going to be okay. And the willingness to want to be healed, and the willingness to want to be able to find resources in order to alleviate or heal the given situation. And who can you ask and who can you reach out to is another thing. And the last thing, and most important thing, is to know that, not all pain is permanent. It's temporary, and you'll get through this. And, the greatest saying is, this too shall pass. And we've all heard that so many times. That the only problem is that when we're in it, we're in it. And it's hard. It's hard. And as an empath, and I've gone through a lot of traumatic, painful experiences, emotional, physical, societal pain in my life. And I'm not here to say my pain is greater than yours. I'm here to say that your pain is valid, and pain is pain. And there are ways, and together we can find ways together, for sure. I encourage you to reach out, to find ways to be able to transform that pain into purpose. And to do as I do, is the reason why I show up in my life is because of the purpose that I've assigned the pain that I go through. And so, my friends, if there's anything that I would leave you with today, is that it's going to be okay. And it's okay not to be okay at the given moment, but we'll get through this. And I encourage you, when it feels like you want to give up, and it feels like there's no going forward and there's no more hope, to know that there is a shining light within you, and there are people around you that are have dedicated their lives to making sure that our suffering does not have to be in silence, and that there are ways for us to actually alleviate and get through what we're getting through, so that we can look back one day and say, oh, I kind of am grateful that I went through all of that trauma that I went through, because I wouldn't be here or doing what I'm doing today or helping another person get through what they've gone through. And I think that is just so special and just so worth it all to be able to impact another person in that way. If you found this helpful or inspiring or impactful in any such way, please comment, share, like, and subscribe to this channel.